Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online PTS Patch Notes video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're going to be taking a look at patch 7.3.2, and somebody asked me why I didn't cover 7.3.1, and I have to say it's because there really wasn't a lot there, and then what was there was just basic information really telling us like why, what the changes, some of the changes were that they were making and why they were making them, and it really wasn't that much. So why am I covering 7.3.2? Well, first off, they are copying all PCEU characters over for this patch, which is approximately 23.5 megabytes in size. Unfortunately, I wish it was really like that, but it never is. It always seems to come out more, so... But enough about that. They also did several bug fixes, some Ascending Tide dungeons, some combat abilities and item sets, and then they also changed how the Dragon Guard Berserker outfit style is sourced and activated the Anniversary Jubilee event for testing this week. And those are the two things we're going to be mostly talking about, is the Anniversary Jubilee event and the combat abilities and item sets. So, moving on down to the Jubilee event, another year, another cake. This year, Donalon has baked up a nautical themed cake, sure to please pirates, princesses, and paupers alike. You may earn this cake by completing the introductory quest. Egg for cake. Old cakes are placed into the mementos category of collectibles, while the newest cake will always be listed under tools, so it is easier to find in the big list of collectibles. Alright. Using the new cake, and only the new cake, will let you claim 3 event tickets each day. Any cake, including the new one, will grant a 2-hour experience bonus. So the nice thing about the Jubilee event is this is a good way to level characters fast. So I really like that they're giving this, and I think the 3 event tickets each day is going to be a better reward for those doing it than other things. Alright, any day in Tamriel, any daily in Tamriel will reward an Anniversary Jubilee gift box in addition to its normal rewards. These boxes can contain everything from crafting materials, both common and rare, to transmute crystals, to motif pages and style items for many different styles from across the game. In addition, each box has a small chance to give a tradable style page for a new Sabrukil armor style, a nautical knightly regalia to shield your flesh from sword and spell. Alright, sounds cool. Alright, moving on. These boxes also have a chance to drop fragments of the new Aurora Firepot Spider Pet. Okay. Once you have found 3 fragments, you will need a 4th to combine them together. The 4th fragment, the Aurora Firepot instructions, is available for 5 event tickets from the Impresario. Alright. Have no fear if you find or purchase the fragments you need after the event is over, though. Once the Jubilee ends, you will always be able to find the fragments for purchase from the plucky assistants Phyllis. Is it Phileas? Phileas Dormier. The 4th fragment will only be available or be visible on their inventories so long as they don't already own the fragment itself or the pet. Alright. This year, there is also a new bag of Jubilee Yesteryear available from the Impresario for 2 event tickets. This bag will give you one of the previous Jubilees that you do not already possess, choosing from among Worm Cult, the Paladin, the Champion, Prophet, Lyris, Sai, and Abner Thorn's outfit style motif pages. It also has a chance to give you an additional style item for the Worm Cult motif, and if you somehow end up with a grab bag after claiming all of the rewards, the bag will instead contain a group repair kit. The Impresario will also offer cake furnishings for all cakes, including the new one, so long as you own the cake memento for the corresponding year. Her inventory will also include style pages for the Sacral armor, as well as all 3 fragments of the Soulfire Dragon illusion pet. This year will also offer the first 2 of 3 total fragments for the new Aurorial Quagsgrift. I think it's Quags. Quasi-Griff mount. The second Morph for this year's Morphing collectible, and this is the year-long event mount. So, also acquiring anything, as always, anything acquired from the Impresario is bound to you. Updated the Dragon Guard Berserk outfit style. The Dragon Guard Berserk bound style pages have been removed from the Imperial City vaults and are now available for purchase on associated Telvar merchants when you are at least Alliance rank 20. Ouch. It's not super hard to reach Alliance rank 20. What's hard is the Telvar stones can be a little hard to get. Alright, moving on. So, updates to the dungeons. I'm not going through all this because it's just mostly fixes and adjustments to make the bosses more manageable for players. So, but what we really want to talk about is the new combat and gameplay changes. So they fixed an issue where using gap closer abilities against the passenger of a multi-seated mount would place you in the wrong position. So that's fixed. Sorcerer, Storm Calling, Lightning Form, and the Hurricane Morph. They fixed issues with this. Fixed issues with Nova from the Dawn's Wraith ability. And now we get into the meat of the subject. And this is one where a lot of people might complain. Two-handed Cleave and the Carve Morph. This morph no longer increases in damage per stack, but instead increases in duration per stack. Each cast increases the maximum duration by 10 seconds with a maximum duration of 30 seconds when at 3 stacks. So you can put these 3 stacks on, one right after another. Boom, boom, boom. So you can have 30 seconds of this going, so you don't have to recast it a bunch of times. And this allows you to save. It just makes it easier to maintain. They also increase the base damage per tick by approximately 66%. This will result in less overall DPS from the ability when at 3 stacks, but with significantly easier management of the effect. Now they do explain why. Previously this ability was allowed to stand alone as an incredible potent dot to help give two-handed weapons some much needed sustained DPS to help it keep up with other weapons. However, the previous iterations created a situation where a maximum stacks were so strong it was eclipsing many other dots in terms of raw DPS, while being incredibly swingy in real content where you need to back off from the target for a moment. The new iteration will have less volatility in the overall DPS and get closer to other dots while giving it high uptime to let you focus on other abilities or actions. So basically, they reduce the damage it does to make it easier to use. And this is where a lot of people are going to get mad, is because of that. I don't see a problem with it. I think it's a good idea to keep your skills balanced, especially with what they've already done with balancing all the single target direct damage over time, like single target direct damage over time, and then area of effect damage, and then area of effect damage over time. How they as people put it, homogenized or equalized a lot of those skills so that they work similar to each other, so choice matters. And I think that's what they're doing here, is making it to where choice has purpose. Not to where it's just, oh, I made this choice because it does more damage. So, critical charge, Stampede Morph, reduce the initial hit of this ability by 20%, increase the cost of $45.90 up from $37.80. That's to make this, increase the duration of the residual area to 15 seconds up from 10, and increase the damage per tick of the damage over time by approximately 3%. So they reduce the initial hit damage, increase the damage over time, which a lot of people are going to be like, well, that's not too, that's horrible. But it's actually, I mean, you think about it, 3% increase in damage per tick, and this thing, I think it ticks every second, so you're going to have 15, it's going to actually probably improve the damage over time, but only over long term. So similar to Carve, this ability's potency was juiced up to inject some power for the skill line's PvE performance, but ultimately created a situation where this more felt eclipsed entirely, even in PvP. Stampede now focuses its damage less on upfront bursts and instead on more sustained damage for the targets sitting in the area. Overall, this will reduce the DPS of the skill as well while letting it have a slightly longer duration in the effects, so you can focus on other actions instead. Pretty much exactly what they're trying to do with a lot of skills. Alright, now this is a big one for me. I love playing the vampire, but I do still hate the look of the ultimate. I do love playing the vampire, especially using some of its skills, and I can see why they did this change. So Blood Frenzy, this is one of the vampire skills that is really powerful. So this ability in its morphs to now grant a stack of 30 weapon and spell damage rather than 600 up front to a maximum of 10 stacks. So you still end up with almost 600 weapon and spell damage, close to that, but you got to do 10 stacks. So they decrease the tick frequency to 2 seconds down from 1. They inverse the math, of course, so the ability drains health slower. The health cost now increased by 250 health per stack rather than 20% of the cost of the skill with no cap. So that means you can use this up to the 10 stacks and beyond, but you will have a 250 health per stack. So at 10 stacks, it's like way more health than what it was costing you before. They reduced the initial cost to 700 down from 1980. That's actually going to help sustain it a little bit better, which is good. So now the morph, Simmering Frenzy, this morph now increases your weapon and spell damage granted to a maximum of 40 per stack rather than 66 weapon and spell damage each second. This ability is toggled on with no cap. So Sated Frenzy, this morph now also reduces the cost of the ability by 200 per stack, down from 250. So 50, it'll cost you 50 per. I don't. So they reduce it by 50. The health per stack. All right. So they say this ability and its morphs are currently enabling incredibly polarizing gameplay. It feeds into an intense risk-reward mechanic that can often be mitigated heavily by specialized classes and builds that stack lifesteal, paired with deep knowledge of content and combat interactions. In its current form, it feels too penalizing for the base vampire experience to engage with a satisfying way while also enabling an overwhelming amount of power for those who know how to use it properly. This iteration now significantly reduces both the penalty and bonus of the effect to make it more accessible and balanced overall, helping it feel more like a damage over time alternative here, where an ability can be active for prolonged periods of time with slightly more risk reward than usual. So this is what I like about this, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but making a skill be more easily accessible to everyone than just those who can master its capability, but still reward the people who master its capability, but also put that risk in place for those who haven't. That's the point of the skill. Like, already, it's like, if you can become good with it, you can master its use, and you can take advantage of it in ways that most can't. Now it'll be easier to take advantage of, but still have that sustaining issue of the reducing your health by so much each turn. I like the change, but we'll have to test it to see how it works. I will say this will fit into the Vampire Lord so much better. Alright, now moving on. Griffin's Reprisal fixed an issue where the synergy from the set was not working with the Harmony trait. And then Sergeant's Mail. This is one people are going to be mad about. Again, this set now adds 3,031 weapon and spell damage to your fully charged heavy attacks rather than increasing their damage by 2257. So, there's a lot of sets like this that do this thing with heavy attacks or light attacks that increase your damage. They just made it to where it gives you a certain set amount of weapon and spell damage instead of adding additional damage, which can be amplified by other sources. The weapon and spell damage can also be amplified by major brutality and sorcery, making the damage of this similar to what it once was before, but without anything that can scale it even higher. So it's a lot better, in my opinion, to do this than what they had before. Now, sets like this one have been adjusted off flat damage modifiers on these attacks due to the nature of how these values interact with additional bonuses, causing them to double dip in effects while other modifiers do not. Rather than outright nerfing the values to the point where they would never eclipse other bonuses, we've converted them into a bonus that can still be increased with some effects such as major brutality and sorcery. Exactly what I just said. And I think that this is a good change. I don't know how much it will help in the long term, but it should. Alright, and then Bahasi's Mania reduced the maximum damage granted from the set to 12%, down from 15%. And it says this set is currently pulling out far ahead of other sets, creating a situation where every build feels like it should be running dangerously low on resources all the time, or utilizing powerful contextual group sets to drop low and fill when needed. While we do want sets to reward its risks for reining the power back a bit to let other sets shine where they do best. And I think that, again, this is more of like just a balance thing. Like, if a set is outshining other sets, it's going to get used more widely because of its benefit. When they balance the sets and keep them more in line with others, it allows for greater choice in what you choose. And really, any game like this, and this is where we're going to get into a deeper, more philosophical conversation about in this video, and that's that. So I do want to say there is a lot of fixes in here. If you guys want to read these, I do have a link in the description below to talk about this. But let's go back to why they're doing all this stuff and why it's important that choice matters in a game like this. First and foremost, I want people to understand, yes, it is an MMORPG, so it doesn't play on the same elements of a tabletop, so it's different. It's a virtual space. It is not the tabletop experience, but they share a lot of similarities, and here is why this is important. If you put things in the player's hands that have more power than something else, they're more likely to use it. It's one of the reasons why when you play D&D, there is a choice in everything you do as a player. That choice determines how your character works, functions, and plays. If something is more powerful than something else, people are more likely to use it more often. And more people will be more interested in gaining an item that has more power to it than they would be interested in getting an item with less power but more functionality. And this is where skills in ESO come into play. Not only skills, but also gear sets. And this is why you see a lot of people saying sets like, certain sets are garbage, is because they don't have as great of effect as other sets. And that's true. They don't. But they have their purpose, which allows a person to make a choice. Do I want a flat amount of extra weapon spell damage, or do I want this extra damage over time? Or do I want this extra flat damage? There's a lot of things you have to do when you make a character in any role-playing game. And that is the choice to decide what's going to best benefit you in any situation. And this is why, one of the reasons why I talk about this so much when it comes to skills. I hear a lot of people say, why do you always talk about unlocking more and more skills on a character when you only have access to using 10 of them? Because those 10 skills are not being used all the time. Because every situation in the game requires you to use different skills for that situation. And you can use those skills in any situation, which is true, but if you're looking to get effective use out of it versus just having it for whatever reason. It's one of the reasons why they give us the choice to choose to unlock more and more skills on our character, just like they give us the option to change our gear at any time if it benefits our playstyle, or it benefits our build, or if it benefits our character in any way. It's the reason why they add more gear sets than they do skill lines, and why we're not getting new skill lines all the time and new classes and all that kind of stuff. They're adding new sets to compensate for that, but they're also adding new elements for ways for players to play to allow choice. Role-playing games, it doesn't matter where it is, where it's created, what it's for, it's all about player choice. If you have something that is available to you that you have on person, like in your inventory that you can use, it's more easily accessible than something that's hidden behind a doorway or a dungeon or a trial, or in a lot of cases a randomly generated drop, like say games like Baldur's Gate, where you'll go into a dungeon and run it and you get some really badass suit of armor or a really badass weapon, and then you realize that when you do play through that again, that was just a randomly generated item that was rewarded to you for playing that content. In ESO, there is randomly generated drops, but they have a set parameter of what drops where. And this is where gear comes into play. Skills don't. Skills are when you reach a certain level in that skill line or whatever, you unlock that skill or access to use that skill by purchasing it with a skill point. And skill points are earned through playing the main content story, not anything else besides that, and sky shards, and then completing dungeons or trials for the first time in the story mode, like playing just the story, like playing through the story of the dungeon. You will be rewarded a skill point. Those skill points you gain, which right now we're up to like 400 and something, allow you to purchase skills within the game. The more skills you have unlocked, the more access to skills you have, the more choices you have to play with. The same thing with gear. The more gear sets they add to the game, the more choices we get in ways to play our characters. Now, playing a role-playing game is about choice. You choose what race you want to play, what class you want to play, and then you choose what armor, weapons, spells, skills, all that stuff you use. Nobody determines that. You decide as the player. And that's what differs a role-playing game from a game like Call of Duty. Call of Duty doesn't give you a choice. You're given a character to play, just like Final Fantasy. In Final Fantasy VII, you're given a choice of characters you can use in a group, but your group dynamic is decided by you. You end up with, in some Final Fantasy games, like 15 different characters that you can choose to create a group of 6 with. And then you take that group with their gear and spells, and you determine how you're going to set them up in the party, and then what spells they're going to have, who's going to play which role kind of thing, and who's going to use what ultimates, whatever. You decide that. But the characters themselves are predetermined. In games like ESO, or even World of Warcraft, you get to choose your race, your class, and then you get to define how that character plays based on the rule set given to you. In ESO, there are no rules because the game's more of a sandbox, so your character can use any armor type, any weapon type, and play pretty much how they want. Why? Because that's its design. And I think that a lot of people misinterpret that because they see things like, hey, this gear set's overperforming this much better to others, so it's the better one to use over anything else. And balancing all this stuff so that every set has a purpose and a use and has choice is really what they're doing. It's allowing more options to be readily available so people can determine on their own how they want to play. Now, it's okay that some people make template characters, such as builds, that allow you to see what options are available. But when you define those options as, if you're going to play this content, this is the best thing to use, people see that and then they run with it and say, well, since this person literally shows its effectiveness and that it is the best, we want everyone playing that way. And that's not how a role-playing game works. It only works that way based on opinion or on a person's idea. And that's why you have a lot of differing groups in MMOs and even in tabletop. Like, I played with a group one time in tabletop that was all about murder, kill, everything. They didn't care about anything else. They didn't really care about the story. All they cared about was killing things and getting their treasure, That's it. Usually they call them murder hobos. I played with groups where the story was the most important thing and everything else didn't matter. Those are role players. And then there's those two, there's the two combined. And that's the difference with, like, in ESO. You have the meta players, or the in-gamers, or whatever you want to call them, and then you have the casual players. But then you have a group in the middle. And these are the people who just want to play the game the way it's designed. That's kind of where I fall. I'm one of those people who likes to play the game for the purpose of the enjoyment, but also min-maxing my characters to make them fun and entertaining to play, while also being able to be more overpowered for the content that I'm playing so that it's not as challenging. And that's fine to play that way, because an RPG allows you a lot of different ways to play. You, as a player, get to decide how you play the game. And if there's something that they do that you don't like, you need to look at the larger picture of it and why they're doing it. Now, do I think every set in this game is perfect? No. Heck, even the skills aren't perfect. Because skills still outshine other skills for what they do. But being able to have access to every tool in the game and being able to use it to your advantage is what I care about most. Like, if I make a character that is a sword and shield wielding, medium armor, bow back bar, sword and shield front bar, and I want to play them the way I design them, I'm going to do that. And that's how I want to play. Now, a lot of people won't like that when it comes to certain in-game content, but others will accept it because it's part of the game. And that's the whole point of an MMORPG, is to allow players to create the kind of characters they want to play. And not be so concerned about, not necessarily being the best, but being able to play the game for the entirety of the game, all its content. And that's really what I care about the most when it comes to playing these games. I'm not here to be the best player. I already know I'm not gonna be. I have faults of my own that don't allow that. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to see them doing this. I do think they jumped the gun on the swap over of PCEU, but I know why they do it. But they also need to understand that we're going into the second patch, which is the third week. And with what we've seen so far, we have 2 more patches. So we have the 0.3 and the 0.4. And I myself don't see a lot more changes coming other than fixes and stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to cover the next 2 patch notes releases, or just wait for the release of the final thing. Now, since we are going to PCEU, I will say that most of the patches gone in are pretty much ending what's going to happen to character stuff and, like combat and gear sets. I'm pretty sure, I'm not exact yet, because we still have 2 patches to go. Usually they drop this, the biggest patch during 0.2 or 0.3, with 0.4 and 0.5 being the launch. So I'm guessing this is it. Like, we're not going to see any more major changes other than adjustments or fixes. So But I could be wrong. But usually that's how it works. So going forward, I'm going to be releasing builds, guys. So get ready. I have a lot planned. And I'm excited. But other than that, yeah, I'm really excited for these changes. I can't wait for this, again, to go live. Because what I've experienced on the PTS is amazing. And the playability of new ways to play. And, you know, all kinds of characters, including, like... And it's stuff I've been able to do in the past. But being able to really show what you can do with, like, a heavy armor build as a DPS. Both magic and stamina. Or... really showing how you can take advantage of, like, a medium armor, you know, hybrid build, or a light armor hybrid build, or even a light armor, you know, stamina type build, which is crazy. But being able to take advantage of all that stuff and then really getting in and testing it has been just the blast, and it's what's keeping me with this game right now. So it's primarily the only thing keeping me playing this game right now. I'm not going to lie about it. Like, being able to have choice and freedom of choice and being able to make the kind of character I want to play in their world is what I care about the most. And I can't wait to get into it with this now. So expect to see me more on the live server playing and less on the PTS over the next few weeks. I will only be doing builds because I have had time to test pretty much everything coming into the game. I will do a test with this stuff to see if it's, you know, like, good changes, but just by what I've seen on the screen already, I can tell you a lot of it's probably going to be really good. It's a matter of opinion from that point on, and a matter of choice. So we'll see where it goes. But other than that, that's it for the video. You guys know what's coming next. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos about me, you can subscribe. If you do subscribe, I do suggest you click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. This helps us both out, and it helps the video get seen more easily. So, other than that, thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.